This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Yeah, they're taking me a few blocks over to a municipal police station for holding for several hours. The two immigration agents that were gonna escort me, had to go take care of their own personal issues and stuff. So, they drove me down about 4 blocks over to a police station right there, and got off the pickup truck and walked into the police station there, and they asked an officer that's sitting at a desk, that they needed to hold me right there for a few hours. And so he guides us. He gets up off his chair and he's guiding us down this little corridor onto a tier. And we take a left, we take a right down the tier. And as we're walking down the tier, I start hearing these screams. This youngster in the background screaming and screaming. And so these dudes don't say nothing, but we walk about maybe a good 15, 20 cells down. And we stop right in front of a cell where these two officers are. They got this young kid right there tied up to a chair, and they keep taking off the gag and telling him to confess, and they're beating the crap out of this kid. And I kind of felt bad for him because he's tied up, and you could see he was crying and everything else. All that, he was all busted up. And right when we stopped there, the officer, the two federal agents looked at this cop, and with that look like, hey, what the hell's wrong with you, man? But he apologized to him, and he took me to the other side of the tier. And found a cell to put me in, and once they put me in the cell, the immigration agents, they told me they'll be back for me in a couple of hours. But they specifically looked at this officer and told him that nobody better not mess with me or else. And so they kind of, I think it was all done deliberately. When they walked me down the tier to let me see how they were torturing that youngster right there, beating him down. And it's intimidation tactics. But they ended up leaving me there for a few hours at this right there in the cell at this police station, and I washed up a little bit and I laid down on one of the benches there, and I don't know how many hours passed, but when I was waking up, all I could hear is footsteps walking towards me, and they stopped right in front of the cell where I was at, and there was one of the immigration agents there to pick me up. He was all decked out in his uniform with all his little medals on his chest and all that. He had his hat in his hand, and his shoes were all shiny, and he just looked at me and asked me if I was ready to go, And so I just told him, let me wash up real quick. Then he called the officer to come open the cell door, and, he escorted me out to his pickup truck and off to the bus station we went. I thought we were headed to the airport, but we ended up going to a bus station, and his partner that was with him, had to go somewhere. He was being transferred to from what they told me, to the border of Tijuana to go work that right there on the border, right there, the immigration. And this officer that took me, we got a few bus tickets, and he was transporting me on the elite bus line to Mexico City to the immigration station over there. But as we got on the bus, and he started talking to me about his family and stuff like that, and he's basically telling me once we got to Mexico City, he was gonna have to take a flight to Juarez, where he was stationed at. But it was a long drive from Guadalajara to Mexico City, and it was early in the morning hours when we arrived over there, and they had put me in a holding cell, and I was in there for a couple of hours by myself, and then they had they had called for me. They had called for me, and go do a report and stuff on the incident that happened in Guadalajara. So basically what they were doing is, the first report I had to do, this was like my fourth report that they had to do on the whole incident. But they were just passing the buck, just transferring me from, one government agency to another. But after, they did a report and stuff and sent me back to my cell, and then probably about an hour later, this was early in the early morning hours as well, while this was all taking place. And they had called me out again from the cell, and then there was this attorney right there. There was he was a friend of some acquaintances of mine, they wanted to go check on me and, explain the whole process to me of what was going to happen with me, and, but as I go out there to talk to him, he introduces himself to me, and he's talking to me in English. So all these immigration agents, Mexican immigration agents are right there, and they're all looking at me. So, he offers me, some help, if I had any money and stuff like that. So he gives me some money and a pack of smokes, and and the lighter, and he looks at all these immigration agents because by this time I still got my stitches in my eyes. They don't want to take me to go to have my stitches taken out. So he looks at them and he tells them that they better not be messing with me. And I had no idea who this guy was, but apparently they knew who he was. But after he left and explained to me what was going to happen to me, I still had to go to the American Embassy and all that to get my documentation for showing that I was a U.S. citizen, and it went through a whole process. But after he left, one of the chiefs right there called me to his office, and he wanted to know who I was. And I just simply told him that I was a nobody. And he goes, no, well, you're somebody, because not everybody has a hotshot attorney like that, I told him I don't even know who the guy is. He says, you are somebody. He goes, and I want to know who you are. I told him I'm nobody. He says, so that's the game you want to play. And so he tells the officers to take me back to my cell. But by this time, they knew who this attorney was, so they weren't planning on harassing me, because he had basically told them, to leave me alone, and they said that's what they were going to do. They weren't going to mess with me. But yeah, they put me in the cell, and later on that day, they just started filling it up with people, a bunch of immigrants from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Ecuador, and I got to know some guys right there. They were on their way over here to California to spend, go work and spend time with their families in LA and stuff. But yeah, there was a few hours there we spent there, and they ended up coming to pick me up and told me that I had to go to the American Embassy to, get my paperwork ready, because later on that night they were going to put me on a plane for California. But yeah, so when they took me through a little cruise throughout Mexico City and all that, we get to the American Embassy, and I still got my stitches in there. The people at the American Embassy, even asked me how I was treated and stuff. But they asked me straight up if the law enforcement over there, mistreated me in any way. And they did, which they did, but I didn't say they did, because at this time I still had no idea what the hell was really going on. I was just going with the flow, and but they drew up some paperwork. We got to the American Embassy. They drew up paperwork, showing that I was a U.S. citizen. And later on that day, went back to the immigration facility. And probably about 1 or 2 in the morning, so they transported me to the Mexico City airport over there. And I had to wait for several hours right there for the flight to come in. But I had all my documents showing that I was a U.S. citizen, born in California right there. I played a good story. I was under another name. And once I boarded the plane and all that, we're on my way to the airport at San Diego on a Delta Airlines. And early in the morning we arrived. It must be about 5, 6 in the morning. And when we got there, I was nervous because I had already been, like I said, America's Most Wanted. I was on the FBI's wanted list. I was hiding out in Mexico for 2 murders that they were accusing me of. And, so here I am thinking, this is it. I'm through. I'm busted. So as we're getting off the plane and we have to go through customs, I positioned myself way in the back of the line. I wanted to be the last one because I didn't want to, cause a big scene or have to face embarrassment by everybody seeing me get arrested.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So when I get to the line right there, the dude sitting right there in customs asked me for my paperwork. I had no passport. I had no ID. And I told him, this is all I got right here. It's documents from the American Embassy that shows I'm a U.S. citizen. So he looks at me, he looks at the paperwork, and he looks at me again, and he's sitting there and he's looking at the paperwork, and he tells me, go on through. He hands me my paperwork back. And as I'm trying to walk out of the airport, I pass the luggage area, and I keep walking, and they got 2 custom agents standing right there. And they see that I don't have any luggage. And so they ask me, they say, sir, could you come over here, please? So I walk over there. They say, yeah, what's the problem? They says, you forgot your luggage. And so I tell them, I says, I don't have any luggage. And they says, you don't have any luggage? I says, no, I don't have any luggage. And so I threw my hands up and I say, hey, wait a minute. I know what you're thinking. I'm not a drug smuggler. I says, I had a problem over there in Mexico. I says, I went on vacation. I had a problem. I'm tired. I just want to go home. I says, I got my paperwork right here from the American Embassy in Mexico City. I says, hey, could you please step into this office? So I step into an office, and they made me strip search. So, you know, and then when they find nothing on me, they're reading all the paperwork, and I tell them, check it out. I already told you, you know, I'm not smuggling dope. I says, I know it looks suspicious. I says, but I went on vacation to Mexico to visit some relatives. I says, I got mugged. You see the stitches over my eyes still. I got mugged. They took my wallet, my ID, my passport. I have nothing. Read the paperwork right there. It says it all. I says, I'm tired. I want to go home, and I'm never going back to Mexico on vacation again. So after I got dressed, they looked at me and says, okay, sir, you're free to go. And fortunately for me, I had people waiting for me. I had no idea they were there, but there was some, you know, friends of mine right there at the airport waiting for me. And you know, once I skated on through, and I was surprised myself really because, like I mentioned, you know, I had already been on America's Most Wanted. I was wanted here in the States, and they didn't catch it, you know, and for sure I thought I'd be busted right there. But no, I skated on through, and I played it off as best as I could, and you know, my ride was right there, and jumped in the car, and I stayed in San Diego for probably for about 2 hours, and then I crossed back over to Mexico, drove all the way to Mexicali, and they took me back over there and stayed with some people I knew.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I'm gonna call back right now.
Yes, sir.